Austin. You know, I love coming to Austin. I used to live here, for those who don't know. And this used to be my old church. I used to always hide in the corner, upper deck. But you know what I miss most about Austin, other than the church? Salt Lake Barbecue and HEB. You know, I live in California now. They don't have it there. You don't know how good you have it here. They're like my gifts. But speaking of gifts, how many of you like gifts? Raise your hand. Cool. All right. I mean, I love gifts. I love getting gifts, giving gifts, especially getting gifts. But when I was growing up, for a period of my life, I didn't like gifts that much. Why? I grew up in Beijing, China, and I had a pretty good childhood. But when I was 6-year-old, one day my first grade teacher came up with this brilliant idea. Brilliant. That she wanted us to not only get gifts, but also learn the virtue of complimenting each other at the same time. So she had all of us come to the front of the classroom. There were 40 of us. She said, hey, why don't you guys say nice things about each other? If you hear your name called by someone else, you can go get a gift and sit down. And she bought all of us gifts and stacked them in the corner. What a great idea, right? What could go wrong? When it started, it was great. Every time I heard someone else's name was called, you know, he's a good kid, someone can sing really well, I'll be like, yay, when's my turn? Then there were 20 people left, and 10 left, and at the end there were 3 kids left. That's where the compliments stopped. And I was one of them. You know, at that moment I didn't want gifts anymore. I didn't want compliments anymore. I just want to sit down. And I was crying. I really had no idea why no one was saying anything nice about me. I thought that was cool. You know, I thought I was a popular kid. Then I saw who was standing next to me. I knew otherwise because I hated those 2 kids. And the teacher was freaking out. She was like, oh my, would anyone say anything nice about these people? No? Okay, why don't you go get a gift and sit down? Because behave better next year so someone will say something nice about you. You know, I'm describing this as like happened to me yesterday, right? Ever since that day, I would just die not to be in that situation again, getting rejected in public. But I don't know who felt worse that day, whether me or my teacher. She probably realized that her team building event turned it into this roast of 3 6-year-olds. You know, without the humor. You know, when you get roasted, it's supposed to be funny. There's nothing funny about that day. But that was only one version of me. I live in Silicon Valley now. Everything there is about versions, you know, version 1.0 and 2.0. So that was version 1.0 of Jang. And 8 years later, when I was 14, I got an upgrade. Version 2.0 by this guy. Can you go to the next slide? Do you know who he is? Bill Gates, that's right. No, he didn't personally upgrade me. That would be pretty cool if he did. Just give me a CD or something. No, but he came to China to promote Windows 95. Right? I heard him speak. I love that guy. I loved everything about him. His entrepreneurial story, his idea of using technology to change the world, and I just want to be like him. So that night, I wrote a letter to my family telling them, hey, don't worry about your son now. I got my life figured out. By age 25, I will build the biggest company in the world, and I will buy Microsoft. I loved everything about him, including the idea of dominating the world. I didn't make this up, I did write that letter. My family kept this letter for me all these years, and they sent it to me when I was 30. They're like, have you done this? You don't have to try to read this. It's really bad handwritten Chinese, trust me. But I did highlight some keywords for you, so you know what I'm talking about. In that letter, I also said, hey, someday I want to go to the United States to fulfill that dream. I even pick out my own city. I want to go to Houston. I don't know why. Anyone from Houston? Yeah, cool. I didn't know why. It just sounded good in Chinese, Houston. Also, they won the NBA championship that year, so I was a fan since. And 2 years later, when I was 16, I was actually given the chance to come to the US as a cultural exchange student. You know, those high schoolers who come here and then live with your family for a year. And, like, anyone had lived with a cultural exchange student before? Oh, cool. Are they cool? Yeah, they're okay. They're okay, right? But when I came, I didn't go to Houston. I didn't go to LA or Austin or or New York. I went to rural Louisiana. Anyone from rural Louisiana? Anyone? Oh, okay. Some people. Okay, I'll be nice. It's a small town called Simpson. If you just type in Simpson, Louisiana on your Google map or Earth, you just see all green. And you just have to zoom in, and you see a couple roads, that's Simpson. And I was like, wow, that's not the America I saw. And then when I saw America, I remember there was this famous movie, it's called True Lies. That's my favorite movie. Arnold Schwarzenegger, he was jumping through buildings with horse. I'm like, that's America. I want to go there. But when I went to Louisiana, it's all horses, no jumping. There's more horses than people in that town. I'm like, that's different. And even worse, the exchange program did a horrible job doing background check with the family. As it turned out, their oldest son committed murder a couple years before I went there. So I was sleeping in his bed. And the younger son was really angry about life, so he was like bullying me. And so I was pretty angry and disappointed. And even worse yet, as soon as I got there, they stole all my money. And they also stole my roommate's money. So one day we're at home and we found out, we really thought he's gonna kill us. And we told our school, and they called the police, and they arrested him. So for the first time my name was appeared in the newspaper, it was for a crime against me. So I was like, wow, this is, America's different. This is not what I wanted, and I was very disappointed. And then the exchange program was very scared. They were like, wow, hopefully they don't sue us, and I'm glad they didn't die. So they sent us to a new family. And this time is a world of difference. This new family really loved us, really loved me. And they were apologizing on behalf of America. They were like, really sorry you went through this experience. And in fact, the whole community were taking care of us. They're coming over and meeting me and teaching me English. And I was like, wow, this is a real love. Why do you do this to me? I don't have any money left. As it turned out, they were Christians. And they started taking me to church. And it's a church called the Assembly of God. For those of you who don't know, the Assembly of God in rural Louisiana is a very exciting place to be. There's a lot of singing and dancing and fainting and speaking in tongues. And I didn't understand a lot of that. And I also didn't understand a lot about David and Jesus, but I understood love, right? In China, I know love. I know love from family members to family members. I knew love from friends to friends, but I did not know love from strangers to strangers. And they showed me that love. And I said, I want to have it. So when they asked me, would you want to be a follower of Christ? Do you want to believe in Jesus? And I said yes, without hesitation. Because I want to experience that love. I want to give that love. And ever since that day, that love has never left me. And subsequent years, I started learning more about the gospel. And I started even trying to build churches and plant churches and fellowships and build at school. And all this time, I could learn more and more. But that passion, that love never left me. And then I thought about, okay, I still want to be an entrepreneur, but this is because of me or because it's what God wants me to do. So I prayed and I got a clear answer. God wants me to do this. But for the next, 14 years, I did all the wrong things. Nothing really bad, but I did everything people expected of me. I went to school, I found a job, I made money. I went to better school, I found a better job, made more money. I bought a dog, bought a car, bought a house, got married. I could have fulfilled everything in this picture. The American dream. Our house wasn't nearly that big. We didn't have that milkman. I don't know where milkman nowadays. I think they're awesome. This is a great dream, but it's not my dream. And this is where's the kid who wrote that letter? And as it turned out, every time I want to step out, every time I want to do something, even at work, every time I want to speak in front of people, I want to give a proposal. There's a constant battle between a 6-year-old and a 14-year-old. One wanted to change the world, Another was afraid of rejection. And guess what? Every time that 6-year-old won. And this even this fear even stayed with me. And when I was 30, I just heard news from my wife that we're gonna have a baby. I was a little bit depressed. Sorry, I take it back. I love babies. I'm pro babies. I recommend them to all of you. But the timing is right. But the thing is, when you become a father, this chance of you becoming this world-changing entrepreneur goes way down. Your responsibility changed, your priorities changed. So I said, okay, I probably missed my boat. And I'll be a good family man now. I'll be responsible. Then my wife, this is one thing that I have. I got a godly wife, and she saw how unhappy I was. She was like, hey, this is really from God? I'm like, yeah, and I think so. I prayed about it for a long time. And she's like, hey, if you want to do this, why don't you do it? Quit your job. You can go build your company. You don't have to do it forever. How about let's set up some goals? And if you can reach those goals, then you keep going. Otherwise, you can look for a job again. And throughout the process, look for prayers to guide you. You know, there are many times in my life I felt I married up. You know, this is one of them. So this is the day my son was born here in the hospital, not too far away from here. And 4 days before that, I quit my job. So this is the day I turned in my badge, and I asked my manager to take a picture for me. As you can see, she wasn't happy because this wasn't a good picture. She was like, there you go. So when I was walking out of the office building, part of me felt great. I get to finally go after my dreams. But the other half felt scared. I felt naked. Because before, there was all kind of excuses of not going after my dreams. But now there's no more excuses. And I better get going. So I hit the ground running and found a team, and we're building a prototype, we're building a software, we're finding people. I was having a great time. But 4 months into my venture, it got real. There was a local investor that showed interest in my company. I really thought he's going to invest. I said, there's no way he wouldn't invest. This is the answer to my prayers, for sure. I even dreamed about this 5 different times. It's the same dream. Each time I would get the call from the investor, I would play it cool on the line, then hung up and jumped up and down, hugged my wife, called my parents, and then I woke up. It stinks. You have to wake up from the same dream over and over again. And those are the dreams, and there's reality. One day I was at a restaurant celebrating a friend's birthday, and there was a singing and happiness all around me, but the phone vibrated, and I saw it was email from the investor. I'm like, okay, I hope it's something good in it. So I was trying to channel good energy into it, and I clicked open. It was a one-liner. That's not good. And he said, nope, we're not going to do this. It didn't tell me how, it didn't tell me why. At that moment, I had to just stand up and walk out so people wouldn't see me crying in front of them. I really didn't know why I was hurt this bad. I thought I was tough. I thought I was ready. But at that moment, the 6-year-old was standing on my shoulders again, just whispering to my ears. He was like, hey, who do you think you are? You want to be an entrepreneur? That's for geniuses. You just want to be. You're just dreaming now. You should quit now before you embarrass yourself more. So that night, I had a talk with my wife, and I said, hey, I think this is the real answer to my prayers. You know, I had a lot of fun, but now God is telling me I should quit, and maybe I'll look for a job. I'll look for a job now to get income flowing again. You know, when I said that, I was looking for a hug. I was looking for some sympathy, maybe some appreciation. What I got was rage. She was like this pissed off quarterback. When the offensive lineman gave up a sack, she was just screaming to my face mask. She was like, hey, I gave you 6 months, I didn't give you 4. All right, keep going and don't leave any regret. And that's where it dawned on me. Would Bill Gates wanting to give up after rejection like that? Would anyone successful at anything wanting to give up after rejection like that? No way. I can keep going and build a better company, but I gotta solve that rejection problem. I gotta be a better person. I gotta put that 6-year-old back to his place. So what did I do? I searched online. You know, Google's my friend. So I said, how do I overcome my fear of rejection? First of all, I saw a bunch of articles written by psychologists talking about, hey, where's your fear and pain coming from? They weren't that helpful. Then I saw a bunch of articles written by sales gurus, just rah-rah articles, just screaming into my face. They were like, hey, don't take rejection personally, just move on, overcome it. I'm like, who doesn't know that? If it's that simple, why was I still so afraid? Then I saw a website that's interesting. It's called rejectiontherapy.com. Okay, for those of you who don't know, rejection therapy is this game invented by this Canadian entrepreneur. And he's got some real rejection issues. So he came up with this deck of cards, and that was every card would give you a suggestion to get rejected at something. The idea is if you go look for rejection, instead of running away, you do this for 30 days, you're gonna desensitize yourself from the pain of rejection. You know, you become this big and strong guy. I'm like, that's the best idea I've ever heard. You know, I'm gonna do this. So I'm gonna do this for instead of doing this for 30 days, I'm gonna do this for 100 days. I'm going to overdose on rejection, and we'll see what happens. Oh, I'm gonna film myself doing this, put this on YouTube, or make a video blog out of this thing, or vlog. I wanna have the world hold me accountable. So this is what the website looked like then. Rejection 1, borrow $100 from a stranger. Rejection 2, request a burger refill. So and as I was doing this stuff, right? I got a bunch of rejections, but then I was like, oh, okay, that wasn't too bad. I didn't die, right? And then as I kept doing this, and the strange things started to happen, like really weird things. People started to say yes to me, one after another. For example, one day I had a soccer ball in my hand, and I went and knocked on the stranger's door. The guy opened the door. He's a big guy. He has a giant Texas flag on his t-shirt. You know, we do that here. I said, can I play soccer in your backyard? He was like, soccer in my backyard? And he looked at me. I was serious. I got a soccer ball, shin guards, cleats, all that crap. And he was like, I guess so. Come on in. I'm like, now what? I'm gonna play soccer with myself in the backyard. So I just went in and did some dribbling, and before leaving, I had him take a picture of me. I did the Heisman pose on a soccer ball. I didn't know why. But before leaving, I said, how can you say yes to me? He was like, dude, this is so off the wall. How can I say no? I'm like, okay. Then there's another day, I was driving down the highway, I saw a police car. I was waving at him, and he was waving back. I'm like, no, I want you to stop. So I pulled him over. I said, officer, could I drive your car? I mean, I don't want to get you in trouble. I'm not going to drive it away, but I'm going to just give it a spin. You know, I want to listen to a radio. I want to feel like a police officer. And he was like, I've never heard this before. Sure, why not? So I drove a police car that day. In the front, not in the back. There's a big difference. Then there's another day. I got a bunch of yeses in a row. Okay, I just got frustrated. I'm like, this is rejection therapy, not acceptance therapy. What's one thing that's for sure I get rejected at? How about if I fly a plane? By the way, I have no idea how to fly a plane. I have no license or courage or knowledge. I just want to get rejected that day. So I went to this airfield in Pflugerville, and I saw this pilot-looking guy sitting in the lobby. I said, sir, do you have a plane? He's like, yes, I do. I said, can I fly it? He said, do you know how to fly? I'm like, no. He's like, yeah, it's fine. I can teach you how to fly. You want to do it now? I'm like, why? What's going on? As it turned out, he did not own a commercial jetliner like a Boeing. He owned a gyroplane. Okay, for those who don't know, a gyroplane is like a miniature helicopter, like a motorcycle in air type of thing. This is a rich hobbyist. He just bought his new gyroplane. He wanted to show everyone how awesome it is. So he taught me how to fly. It's amazing. By the way, I have video evidence for all of these. If you go to my YouTube channel, you can see all of them. If you go to the next slide, and they're all pretty fun. But speaking of video, I gotta show you this one video. That's really probably the most famous one. It really talks about this idea of looking for rejection but not getting it. And here it is. I'm driving toward Krispy Kreme. I'm gonna ask them to make me some specialized donuts, and we'll see what happens.
What kind of specialized donuts are you talking about?
I like to have getting link the 5 donuts together, make them look like Olympic symbols.
And when are you looking to these?
Huh?
When?
The next 15 minutes?
Let me see what I can do.
Okay.
Alright, but what do you think?
Wow. That is really good. That's really good. Yeah. All right. So, do I play there?
Don't you worry about that one's on me.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
You serious?
Very. Extremely.
Wow.
Extremely. That's my play.
All right, Jackie. I'll take it. But man, you make me really happy today. All right. Thank you. All right. See ya. Give me a hug. Okay. All right. Thank you. See ya. So, this actually happened not too far away from here, in that Krispy Kreme, and these were the donuts. They were very sweet. There's a lot of sugar in them. We had them for dinner, for dessert, but the whole experience felt sweeter. When I was walking out, when I was walking out of that donut shop, and I just had tears in my eyes because I couldn't believe the type of human kindness or customer service that you saw in that video. And so I just put these videos on YouTube. I didn't think too much of it, and not many people watching them anyway. So I just did this for fun. And so that was the time during Thanksgiving. At the time, my church had a special Thanksgiving service. And then it's a Friday night. They had all of us come to church, and they asked us to come on stage and sharing what you're thankful for. At the moment, it's like, what am I thankful for? My business isn't going anywhere. I'm getting rejected left and right. And at the time, my wife she just gave birth. She's experiencing some complication. She's in a lot of pain. And life wasn't good. But I remember the moment. I remember this song. It's an old worship song. It says, "Thanks to roses by the wayside. Thanks for thorns in the stems they contain." So I sang that song, and I was like, well, I'm thanking God for everything, even for the thorns. But I'm at a very thorny moment in my life. I'm also asking for roses. So I'm asking for miracles. So that was on a Friday night during a Thanksgiving service. The very next day, I remember the morning, I was playing pickup basketball. And before playing, my phone started to buzz. I was like, what happened? So as it turned out, someone put my video on Reddit, and it went to the front page. And all of a sudden, I got 10,000 views. Then I played a basketball game, and then 50,000 views. Another game, 100,000. Another game, 300,000. At the end, that video got over 5 million views. And I got people, and I was on all kind of news, and I was on, and it was on the front page of Yahoo, with the Daily Mail of UK, and it went to also Business Week, and because of this video, I started getting emails from people all over the world, and people sharing stories with me, like crazy stories. For example, there's an artist who's afraid of sharing her art, but then she saw the video and she started saying, hey, those donuts are nice, but I'm a real artist. So she started sharing her art and got picked up by national media. She was invited by the government to go to Washington, D.C. to give a show. It changed her life. And there's this guy, his name is Mike. He said he's been afraid of rejection his whole life, so much so that when he goes to a restaurant, he would ask his kids to get ketchups, so he wouldn't talk to anyone. But then he just found out his wife was diagnosed with cancer. He said he learned a lot about the American medical system, for good and for bad. But one thing for sure is he have to ask the doctors and nurses and the hospital to get things done sometimes. And he's like, wow, you're asking because of rejection therapy. I'm trying to save my wife's life here. Why should I be afraid? And he was thanking me. And I get thousands of these emails from people. There are people starting new businesses. There are people starting new podcasts. And also because of this, I was getting on TV and doing interviews. I'm become this rejection guy, and teaching people about rejection. Oh, this is on Today's Show, by the way. And also I wrote this book. It became the #1 bestseller on Audible. I don't know why, people like my voice or something. And I give one of the most viewed TED Talk of that year. It was behind Elon Musk and the Pope. Sometimes you're just not as cool as someone. What can you do? And also, I'm even going back to my tech route nowadays. I'm building this app where I'm trying to help people overcome their fear of rejection through technology. By the way, if you're interested, show that we're launching this app in a month. If you're interested, this is my you can take a picture of this number. You can text me. You can text me or your email. I can enroll you in beta. Love to hear from you. But also ask me any questions you want with rejection or anything. Now I get to do these type of things, and I get to go to some of the best companies in the world, best universities in the world to teach people how to become rejection proof. But the thing is, the most important lessons I've learned are not secular ones. They're spiritual ones. I don't get a lot of chances to share these lessons with my people, the Christians. So that's why I'm so glad to be here to share some of the lessons with you. The first is, let me show this. This is one of my favorite verses from Proverbs. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways, submit to Him, and He will make your path straight. This lesson is really, God has a plan for everyone. God has a plan for everyone. You know, this is one of the oldest cliches in the Christian world. God has a plan for everyone, has a plan for everything. But just like the sky is blue, grass is green. It's true. That's why it's so boring. God does have a plan for everyone. You know, I didn't know why I went to that Louisiana family. I went to those wackos stealing my money. But now I do. I get to go there because I get to see this new family. I get to experience love. I get true love. I get to come to Christ. And I didn't know why. For a long time, I didn't have the guts to start my own company. I thought I was wasting time, but now I do. I learned patience, but also I went through rejection so I can share this story with other people and inspire them. You know, I remember once I saw there was a beautiful jigsaw puzzle on a lighthouse, about a lighthouse. You know, aren't all jigsaw puzzles about lighthouse, right? There's ocean, there's a sunset, and there's rocks, and you can imagine that, right? It's beautiful, and there's one piece in the middle, center of that puzzle. It's all black, it's all dark. If you just take that piece out, there's no life in it. It's depressing. But that's the most important piece of that whole picture. If you put it back in, it's a beautiful picture. Are you going through some rejections in your life now? From your family? Maybe from your work, personally, professionally? Maybe you're going through that darkest piece in the jigsaw puzzle. But don't give up. Don't be afraid. God has a plan for everything. That piece might be the most important piece in your whole picture. The second lesson, I want to share this scripture. For I'm not ashamed of the gospel, because it is the power of God that brings salvation to everyone who believes, first to the Jews, then to the Gentiles. This message is for people like me, for Christians. One of the biggest fear of rejection as a Christian sometimes is to share the gospel. So invite people to church. So share your message. Because you believe this is so intertwined in your life, and you feel, hey, you're rejecting this message, you're rejecting me, right? That's why we're so afraid. But just so you know, this is not about you. This is never about you. This is about God. It's about Jesus. It's about the power behind you. You know, in startups, I know if there's a strong VC backing me, there's a lot of customers backing me, I feel confident. If you're in the military, you know, if behind you is a strong government, you feel confident. But just so you know, when you are spreading the message, who's standing behind you is the most powerful being, the most powerful power in the whole universe. Why should you be afraid? Don't be afraid. And even the people who reject you, they might later on, because they become the most ardent supporters of the message. The message that I showed you, the author is Paul. His name is Paul. And he's one of the most important person in the New Testament. But he started as the most violent enemies of Christ. But later on, he converted, become the most ardent supporters. So if you don't reject them, even though they reject you, eventually God will not reject them. And lastly, I want to share this message for the people who aren't Christians yet. It's from John 6, chapter 6, 37. All those the Father gives me will come to me, and whoever comes to me, I will never drive away. Maybe for a lot of people who are not Christians, maybe you're thinking, this Christian thing about, hey, if you believe, you go to heaven, you don't believe, you go to hell, this doesn't sound fair. It doesn't sound right, but just so you know, this is more than fair. Because all of us are not supposed to go to heaven. But because of Jesus, because of God, He sent His only Son to us, we all get to have eternal life. No matter who's rejecting you, your family, your work, whoever's rejecting you, just so you know, God will not reject you. If you just open up your heart and ask, and He's never gonna turn you away. Why don't we bow our heads and ask?